Welcome back, everyone, to our favorite time, our minis. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Julie.
Okay, so I have been thinking about something for a very long time that I wanted to kind of touch base on and get your views on. I feel like no one is talking about it, and maybe I am more sensitive to the topic, being from law enforcement, but nobody's talking about the opioid crisis too much. I mean, we talk about it a little, but I just feel like boy, it is hitting every town, every neighborhood, every zip code, every economic status. And we're really just not diving into it. And especially with the fentanyl that's hitting the streets and killing all these people.
Yeah,
Um,
I
Go ahead.
yeah.
What is
I
your
feel
thought
I
on?
feel like it is. I feel like it is actually talked about a lot. I feel like it's in the news all the time, especially I guess when somebody loses their life to this, either some young kid. They say they don't know if it was suicide or an
Hmm.
overdose. Um, Boy, is this, to say the least, so out of control. I mean, it's like I think in the 90s started to really turn into a crisis. Um,
Well, the
but
90s we had crack cocaine, but
yeah,
I feel like then later came more of the heroin opioid crisis
yeah,
because because we introduced opioids into society through pain medication. And I've watched several movies, documentaries on it. If you haven't seen them,
yeah, me too.
they're on Netflix and Hulu and all of them. So go ahead and watch how they pumped this medication and kept saying it was not addictive. And ultimately it was very addictive. And I have worked with people who sadly have gotten hooked on opioids from went to the doctor, had
Pain management.
injury, and it just really excelled it. And
Yeah,
they lost their job, they lost their family, they lost their high. It's very sad to watch the addiction take
yeah,
over
and an
people.
innocent at that point, an innocent mistake. When a
Hmm.
doctor is giving you the instruction and the
Hmm.
prescription, you think in the back of your mind, well, okay, a doctor gave me this. I
Right,
can.
it must be
It's gonna
okay.
be. It must be okay. It's gonna be fine for me. And that is such a way that people have lost their everything in life over pain management, and it turns into this. How
Hmm.
many times do you hear that when somebody loses their life and they're saying, well, how did they ever get hooked? And they're saying when they hurt their back or they
Hmm.
did, all of a sudden they were
Surgery.
and when you're in pain, especially, it's so dangerous when doctors will give you a prescription like this and say take as needed. As
Oh,
needed when you're in agony is a whole different definition, and just really, you know
yeah,
really
yeah.
does a number. And now there's at least more knowledge and warning of it, but it's still happening. It's
Right.
still there are still all of these quote unquote accidental deaths where they're saying, well, we're not sure if it was a suicide or not. And the whole thing is that it's an addictive death. It's an addictive death warrant.
Yeah, sadly, it really is taking over. So much so that they are now putting Narcan into the hands of everyone. I mean, anyone that
Schools.
will, schools,
Yeah.
they have vending machines popping up now with
Right.
Narcan in it. So, and for those who don't know, Narcan is how do I describe it? It's basically a shot that you stick in your chest if someone is overdosing, and it reverses the effect of the overdose. Um, and I have seen it used several times over my career. It's
I
pretty
bet you
powerful,
have.
amazing drug.
And
Yeah,
life
I mean,
saving, right? I
and
mean, it
life.
is.
Oh gosh, yes, life saving. But I think the other
And
thing is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, I was just going to say that it's like a mystery why it's such a controversy of where they put those, like you say, vending machines, or where like in schools there are all sorts of, I think, fight back. There's all sorts of fight back on putting
Well,
having
don't
Narcan accessible. I mean, you're not encouraging people
right.
to experiment with the whole situation,
But I
but
think
it
that's what
is.
people think. The perception is,
Yeah,
let's say we put that in affluent school, right? they're going to be like, not our school,
Right.
not our kids. They don't do that stuff. And the reality is they are doing it. And I'm going to tell you from experience, again, being in law enforcement, we have an expressway here in the city of Chicago that attaches to suburbs. It's the affluent suburbs out there, come from big money. And it's the nickname for the highway is Heroin Highway. And they say that because people would drive from the suburbs and get off on the west side of Chicago and pick up, their heroin and be on their way. It was that's why we call it Heroin Highway. I mean, was happening every day, all day long. In fact, even during COVID, it was not shut down. You could see the people coming in to buy their
If anything, with
heroin.
all the isolation, that was even more of a lethal
Oh yeah,
time.
for sure, for sure. And I guess one thing is like, how do you know? How do you know someone is addicted, or what are the signs to look out for? And I think to some people I know in my life who've been affected by addiction in general, I don't think there's any one specific sign, but I would say if your relationship is deteriorating, the person is not who they used to be, not involved in the things they used to be, or interested, possibly losing a lot of weight. Heroin, especially, will start to affect your dental health, your overall facial structure from losing weight. You just become very sullen. Have you ever seen anyone who's
Yeah,
addicted?
oh yeah. You think
Oh
of
yeah.
all, that look of it, drug addicts. But what you're saying too, if you're someone who's listening to this that is wondering, I take so much of this, where do
Hmm.
I draw the line? I mean, that's always that fine line of I'm trying to get help
Right.
and it's not that bad. How do I know? And then, if you're thinking that, it's definitely time to reach out and find out, really get help,
It never hurts to contact
some sort of
con-
support.
yeah, contact different rehabs. I'm sure there's 800 numbers you can call and find out, what do I do? Especially if the person is stealing from you. When a person in your life becomes so disruptive that you can no longer live your regular life, then it's time to question what is really happening. You know, um, Especially for younger children, I think your grades start to fail, and because people described addiction, and I've never been addicted, knock on wood, but as like a love affair. They're so in love, they want it all the time, and they'll do anything it takes to get that
Yeah.
drug or alcohol or whatever it may be, whatever substance they're using.
Yeah.
It's We know addiction's not just limited to drugs and alcohol, but um, so you have to really then start to question, like, what is going on in my house, and where do I set the boundary? And so that's when I think you need to bring a professional in, like talk to a therapist, talk to people,
Yeah.
interventionists. It's a
And
very
yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
like we've said so many times, if the person, it's hard to get a person who's deep into this situation to get help for themselves. They're addicted. To get help for yourself, to figure out how to get help for them is another road to
Mm,
take.
absolutely. And I read somewhere, and I don't know if this is accurate, so don't quote me on it, but I read it takes like 7 times of trying to quit to actually for it to take effect. Now, maybe that's not
Wow.
everybody, but that's how strong of a hold it has on people. It really hits. I don't know. We'll have to have an expert on to talk about the
Yeah.
neurotransmitters and the
Yeah. Right.
dopamine and, how it affects all that. But it's such a scary drug. And if you think it's like, just the people in low income areas, it's not. Um, there are a lot
Oh
of
no.
there are a lot of women addicted to pain pills who are functioning kind of, who go to work and come home, but they're addicted to pain pills. And so
Yeah.
I guess I've become more apprehensive when people are like, oh, I'm taking pain pills for A, B, or C. Then I want to ask them, like, how long have you been on them and who is prescribing them? And,
Yeah.
um,
Well, even just the regular. I've had something like dental work done or something
mhm,
where I was prescribed um hydro what is it, hydrocodone,
hydrocodone.
cohodo, and and they,
Oxycontin.
they'll give you Oxycontin, they'll give you a prescription to pick up before you go
Hmm.
home, knowing that when the numbing wears off, you'll be in agony. I
Yes.
myself really, I pick up the prescription. I don't think I've ever taken it. Like, I just
Oh, really?
think it's too strong. Yeah. Well, I'm someone who just hesitates with that, but this is prescribed all the
Wow.
time, and
Yeah.
like I just feel like it's accessible. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter where you are, in big town, small town, affluent or not. It's all over the place.
See, that's funny you say that because I've had a couple surgeries and I was so thankful for it. But I will say that the effect it had on me, it makes me sleepy. So within a half an hour of taking it, I'll be fast asleep. So whatever that addictive gene is, thank God I don't
Yeah,
have it. And I'll tell you
yeah.
a funny, not funny story is was, I had my tonsils out as an adult, which
Oh, I
for,
remember that.
for anyone who
Yeah,
has,
my
who is,
daughter did it as
oh
an
gosh.
adult. Oh
Yeah.
my god, it was the worst pain I've
I
ever seen
mean,
anyone.
worse than labor. It was
Yeah.
so painful. Um, I thought I was never going to recover. And how I describe the pain is like your throat is on fire and you're swallowing glass. That's what it felt like. So anyway, I learned a little bit about the new laws that they have implemented, which I think is good. Um, when I called the doctor to get a refill, the doctor's office no longer, at least in Illinois, will call in that prescription. You have to actually physically go to the doctor to get a physical prescription to bring to the pharmacy.
Oh,
So
that's
that,
interesting.
yeah, so that kind of eliminates, you know, people like calling it in and say, the doctor calls it in for me, and then you go pick it up because you're actually the one with an addiction. I think that was a smart idea. However, being in my situation, someone who was in massive pain at the time, I
Yeah.
called the doctor and they said, we can't call it in. You have to come get it. And I thought, I haven't showered in 5 days. Like,
And you're in agony.
and I'm in pain and I'm in my pajamas. And I said, can't my husband or my father or, nope, you have to come get it. So I showed up looking like, I mean, I can't even imagine how scary I looked to pick up this
Wow.
prescription. Um, but yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. And it's the same thing with the technology that they have implemented too, pharmacy to pharmacy. Now they communicate. So you can't go to one pharmacy and get something and then go to another pharmacy and get the same thing, dual
Yeah.
prescriptions.
So
So it does
so they're
eliminate that.
trying. There are a few things in play
Yeah.
that
And
they're
I,
trying to
that,
get control.
yeah, this Narcan thing is very it's a very hot topic and a lot of people don't want it, but judging from the
Yeah.
background I come from, I'm happy to see it. I'm very
Yeah,
happy
and
to
you've
see
seen
it.
it, like you said, you've seen it
Hmm.
save lives.
Yeah. And I hope it continues because I think we forget that under the addiction there's a person there, and whether they're a
Hmm.
mother, father, brother, sister, I mean, somebody loves them and somebody is in a lot of pain watching them destroy
And they're
their life.
helpless.
Yeah.
And they're helpless.
Hmm.
This is, it's hard to help yourself
Right.
when you're deep into this.
Right. So if you or someone else you know is addicted, there's so much help out there. Get on the internet, Google it, call your non-emergency numbers, call human resources, call your local hospital, call the emergency room and ask them. Um, let's try to save more lives.
Yeah, if in doubt, pick up the phone, reach
Hmm.
out.
Yeah. Okay. Until next time, Nancy.
Until next time. Bye, Julie.
Bye.